excited to have this conversation, especially right now. Food is one of my favorite topics to talk about, but right now there's just so much coming to light about how corrupt our food systems have become. So today's a good day for this
Do you
chat.
think do you think it's coming to light in our circle, in our community, or do you think as a mass global awareness it's coming to light?
Well, I think it's mass. And I think that because of what's going on in politics, like they almost made it political to like the whole make America healthy again. Yes, but also like it became a political, like, oh, if you want America to be healthy, you're conservative. So I found that super weird, but at the same time, and that's because RFK was running that messaging. I found it weird, but I was also like, great, whichever one of you want to run this movement, like, cool.
Totally. And you're either in or you're out. You want to be healthy or not be healthy.
I was like, I don't get what's happening, but I am just so glad someone with a platform is talking about it. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
it was such a big light shone on, what is it, make America healthy again, like that
Yeah.
whole tagline, and just everybody using it, even whether they knew what it stood for or who was saying it, who represented it, they were saying it. And I think
Totally.
subconsciously that goes into their brain. It's like, yeah, healthy, healthy, healthy. It was such
Yeah.
a huge platform. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean my parents were talking about seed oils. Like it was just I was like, yeah, I mean I've been talking about that for a while, but it just seemed like whether they knew it, they were obviously picking that up from the media. And that was
Yeah.
obviously there was an agenda with it, but I mean, it seems like that awareness was really being elevated. And I mean, the reason I'm also excited to have this conversation is because I feel that even the masses that think they're being healthy, as I did prior to how granular I've gotten, there's just such a level now that we have to get that's so much deeper than I think most of us realized when it comes to what healthy is. And that's
Right.
because of the toxins in the food and the environment, the genetically modified foods, chemicals that are being sprayed on the food. So I'm sure you guys have a lot of experience with this and how over time all of this leads to disease. And that's why we have one of the sickest societies
Yeah.
ever. So thank you, A, for the work that you're doing to change that, really, because that's what you're doing. And I guess to start with an intro for anyone listening, ORQA is an organic meal company here in Florida that is amazing. It's seed oil free, gluten free, dairy free, refined sugar free, and still tastes amazing. Yeah, so why don't you guys tell us what ORQA stands for and a little bit about why you started the business, about yourselves.
Colin.
Sure. Yeah. So ORCA is an acronym. Thank you very much for having us on. I should say that first, and to allow us a voice to speak. So ORCA stands for Optimizing Your Routines and Rituals for a Better Quality of Life to Age Beautifully. That's what it stands for. And really what that is changing your routines around food, how you eat, how you navigate the shopping centers, how you do everything around food. So
Mm.
that's really, and I guess a lifestyle outside of food. It's a lifestyle change. Um,
And it really started as a teaching platform, actually. It was our mission to shine light on exactly everything that you just said, where the food comes from, how do you clean and store food. Our first kind of iteration of ORCA was teaching.
Mm.
And that quickly turned into let us also help deliver the meals right to your door to really speed things along. And so that's where the meal plans were born. We thought, okay, we're going to teach you, but we want to make sure that you're truly implementing this. It's not
Mm.
just going in one ear and out the other. So again, allowing us to teach here is really cool for us. Expanding on even just having the product of the meals, being able to deliver it to everybody's door. So teaching where we source the food and why
Mm.
that is so important is really powerful for us, because if Colin can create menus and ingredients and all these things to serve you starting from a really cool and authentic place, the meals are just that much better.
That's amazing. That's pretty genius. I haven't heard anything like that at all. And I mean, I'm sure you guys have a story of why you even wanted to get into teaching people? Was there something that like health-wise you guys were dealing with, or was it just really as you got an understanding of what was going on with the food systems?
Well, it was 2020, everything changed. So
Mm,
Colin was forced to do things a little bit differently and was inspired to help and support.
Yeah, we had essentially we had a big business back home, and Jacqueline had a gym, and we were living a healthy lifestyle, or so we thought. And then the pandemic hit, and the world shifted a little bit, and people started this scarcity, or I can't get to the grocery store, whatever it might have been for them. And we just opened our doors on a platform like this, and really just looked inside their fridge and said, here, you can cook this, you can cook this. And we fell in love with this idea of showing people how to cook and showing them what they could do with their ingredients. And through organic growth, I went back and got my plant-based certification. We learned how to test, biomarkers and give people, I guess, a blueprint to fit into their biomarkers. And that just kept snowballing into using food as medicine. And then that went into the farmers. Then we learned about the soil, and then the microbiome in the earth, Mother Nature. And then it's just this ongoing
And then
process.
one day we woke up, I was like, Colin, you're skinny.
Yeah.
And he was never overweight. It was just the health and information that was released and born. And I was like, you look different. I literally had to scroll through. I'm like, this is what you used to look like. So just connecting back or starting to garden and slow down with just everything. His body just intuitively released so much. We're like, there's something here.
Yeah.
were you
That
a
was
chef
big.
prior in 2020?
Yeah, we had. I've been a chef for, I don't know, 3 decades, almost 30 years, and I was a very, I guess, egotistical driven chef, like most chefs, restaurants. I didn't really care about the end user. I just cared about me. It was all about me. But then I had to relearn. I had to relearn how to cook without dairy and sugar and all of these things that made French cooking, right? So
Wow, so
I
you were cooking
started
French.
over.
And there was a lot of pots thrown. You're like, I don't know how to cook without dairy. I don't know how to cook without pork or sugar or whatever. Like, this is flopping and this is failing. The texture's not the same. So yeah, there was definitely like, it went from fun to a little angry, then back to fun, a little angry. So, but yeah, it was definitely a journey.
But looking back, the coolest part was learning how the body, I guess, intuitively knows what to do when you give it the right, it's solutions. The body's it's always there to heal us, right?
Yeah.
And so when you stripped it back, and I started grounding, and I had beehives, and I became a beekeeper, and I had 42 chickens, and I was just like, I'm living the best life ever. And then just grounding, just the negative energies, all of that rolled into like a lifestyle. That's what shed weight. I didn't have to lose weight. I just lost inflammation. That's what I lost.
Yeah. And how did you realize that dairy and gluten and seed oils and pork, all of these things were damaging the body?
Yeah, my course was really what kickstarted that. So I took one of Colin Campbell's courses, Cornell, I think it was. So that started it, and he was really big on cancer. I forget the movement. There's a big documentary that he is a part of, and it was all about the casein protein in dairy and how it causes cancer. And he was just like, listen, dairy's meant for bovines. It's to raise small cows. That's it. And so that started this, big rabbit hole of let's dive into it. Is it bad? And then so I went through a bunch of iterations of, it's bad, it's bad, it's bad. And then I was like, well, is it bad? And then I looked into, maybe it's not bad. And so I started hopping around and learning. But that started the journey, was learning that. And then talking to individuals like yourself that have been through it and are going through it, and just organically just learning, and then researching over and over and over again, and then testing it, and then watching it happen. People that are curing cancer with raw diets, and just the power of food was incredible to watch. So
it's really cool to see Casey and Callie Means sort of lead the movement with the food as medicine movement. I mean, she was a former surgeon from Stanford, and her brother's lobbyist from Stanford also, and they just been talking about how traditional medicine, these doctors they're learning how to prescribe medicine because the medical schools are paid for by the pharmacy companies, and they're not taking nutrition and really understanding that food is medicine. So I feel like a lot of us in this holistic space are coming together to like really bring that movement forward. And the two of them are leading this movement. So I think it's really becoming more of a focal point. But at the same time, I feel like from what I see, it seems like some people, dairy doesn't affect them. Some people, gluten doesn't affect them. I'm not one of those people at this point in my life, but do you find that it's like really just best for everyone to remove it, or not everyone's affected by it?
It's a funny question because it may not affect you now. It doesn't mean it's not
Yeah.
doing chronic disease. So a lot of people always say, "Oh, I'm fine, I'm fine." I'm like, "You're fine now,
Yeah.
but you may not be in 20 years." So just as a broad stroke, we just took all the big anti-inflammatory, all the big inflammatory foods right out, and we're learning that eggs might be one of those too. So we just wiped them out and said, "Listen, let's reset from where you are. We'll give your gut a break. We'll give your body a little bit of a break. And if you want to introduce dairy, I'm not saying it's terrible, but
Yeah.
just do it all the time. Like all these things are bad. So dairy is one that I can go either way. I'm not just say take it out. I
Yeah.
might say balance it. Gluten, I don't love it here in America. I would just say take it out because of glyphosate. It's
It's the
more than
quality. It's the quality of the ingredients we have access to. So
Yeah.
because of that, we're kind of a little bit forced to remove it.
What's your background, Jacqueline?
I've been a personal trainer for about 18 years, and then just working with clients. And I had a gym in Canada for 8 years and just grew that. And then inside the gym, we opened a smoothie bar and we did that for a little bit. And so just working with clients, just really seeing them
Yeah.
firsthand, how their bodies react over decades. I had some clients for now up to 15 years. So actually just like truly seeing how people's bodies react. So just like my own case studies. Everybody's so different.
Wow. So you have the personal trainer side of it where you've probably seen clients go in and out of those different diets through the years of eating the dairy, eating the seed oils and the gluten. And then I'm sure now you probably recommend they remove them, knowing what you know.
Yeah, and I think that is one of the biggest things that I learned is that everybody's journey is unique and changing. So,
Yeah.
I mean, gluten and dairy are safe to say remove or limit.
Yeah.
And then outside of that, it's just everyone needs something different at different times, especially if they're, doing more workouts than they normally do, or their job is more active than it normally is, or, someone gets pregnant or someone's going through major surgery. Like people need different things at different times. So when you're creating the meal plans, we do create different types of meals, and then there's different purpose to different types of meals to meet people at all those stages the best we can, which is that probably is the hardest
Yeah.
part. And it's one of those things that when you ask that question, it's just like, well, I need to learn a little bit more about you first, and
Yeah.
then that will change. And hopefully it does change because hopefully we are growing and evolving.
Yeah. And one of the things I learned from being someone who's gluten-free for a while is the quality of the gluten-free products, right? So for a while, I would just get gluten-free thinking, great, gluten-free. And then as I learned more information, I realized there's so many gums and fillers, and sometimes it's almost worse, but in a totally different way. So having the quality products and people learning what to look for, I've learned is just like such a key part of this. So it's so for people who really don't have the time and or the capacity to learn, having a service like yours, like ORQA, where it's like you've already done that for them, and they can learn through you, but just in terms of if they don't have the time and the capacity, there's also that option.
Yeah. Yeah. And we're just
Yeah.
taking some pressure off because what we serve is 8 meals, and that was just to bridge gaps. So here,
Yeah.
how can we just supply a little bit of support, but you can keep executing the lifestyle that works best for you right now, and then we're just going to support. And if you want to dive deeper, we can, but
Yeah.
keeping in mind that what we're doing is a support system right now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we ORQA was really just a plug-in from holistic practitioner or current doctor to say, you have high blood pressure or you need your type 2 diabetes or whatever it might be, to someone that has never been diagnosed with something like that, to go home and go, okay, so now I got to flip everything I know on its head. How do I do that? Like, that's just, if you've ever gone through that, it's so hard, and you're going to fall back probably right back to old routines and rituals. So that's where we plugged in ORQA to say, listen, we can teach you how to eat a raw diet. We can show you, or we can do and we can teach you how to eat gluten-free, and it doesn't have to be terrible.
Yeah.
We educate you onto what gluten does and why you need it or don't need it. So there's this huge disconnect, I think, in America today from you need this to how do I get that home to make it practical and functional and intentional in their lifestyle.
And going to reliable stores, like you said, it's gluten-free, but it has all these other things.
Yeah.
So coming to ORQA, you know that we've done as much research as we possibly can at this point to give you the best product possible, and you can trust that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And what does gluten do exactly to the body? Like, I know it causes inflammation, but how do you break it down if somebody is curious? Like, well, what does gluten do to my body, and why don't you include it in your meals?
On a biochemistry standpoint, from a culinary standpoint, what gluten does is it allows, like in breads and stuff like that, it allows to hold gas. It creates a structure to hold the gas. That's why everything's light and fluffy.
Yeah.
Or stretchy in pasta. That's what it does. But in the body, the gluten protein actually opens up your gut lining. It's meant to let all the good from a good bread or back in the day when gluten was used to open up your gut lining to let good things into the fiber, whatever else it needs to come through. That's what it really does. But now it's not the gluten. Gluten is the poster boy for bad, but the gluten is good. It's what is in the actual flour or how it's grown that gets into your bloodstream that causes that inflammation or causes that reaction in your body, that sensitivity, because it's getting through, and it's not the gluten, it's just all the bad is getting through, and it's actually doing its job, but it's just giving a floodgate to all the bad that is now in it.
And so does that come from the soil, all the bad stuff, or is that coming from the wheat being like the wheat being genetically modified? Where does that come from?
Well, now I would say the soil too. Back in whenever, you can listen to Zach Bush or whoever about Monsanto in 1976, all that big thing in the Dust Bowl. So our soil is destroyed and no one's regenerating the farming. So mass production to the farmer of just spraying glyphosate and allowing 2 crops to pop up or 3 crops to pop up is more valuable to the farmer. They get more money and they're producing a whole lot more. So everybody wins. The problem is over time, the soil is just stripped of any amino acids or anything that it's supposed to have naturally that gives our body that. And it just absorbs all the pesticides and all the crap that goes on it, in it, into the soil, all of it. And they just keep regenerating over and over again. Instead of stop growing, move to the next plot, let this one come back. That practice isn't done by everybody.
And for anyone who's listening who doesn't know, I mean, this is a pesticide that they're spraying on the crops essentially, but it's poisonous. It's causing things like cancer and major disease in human beings, children in this country.
I don't know if it's ethical or unethical. I toy with this all the time. Is the farmer doing the right thing or the wrong thing? Because he's got a life to live. And there's a lot in our food system that's poison and that's causing a lot of problems. How they get through, I don't know. That's not a question for me. It's just mine to avoid it and bring light to it so that we don't use it.
Yeah. I mean, it's a bigger question for sure.
Yeah.
It's what, I mean, RFK has been talking about a lot, which is just like, we have to change what the FDA approves. There's just no question about it. And again, whether it's him or someone else carrying that message, great. But that is definitely seems like the work that will be getting done now. But I guess we'll see. You guys talk a lot about regenerative farming.
Yeah.
What, like, to break this down and simplify it, what makes this different than the way the conventional way our food is produced?
Well, now, the farmers don't move their crop. Let's say I'll just use 1 acre of land to grow corn. I want to maximize the yield of that 1 acre of land. So I grow my corn, and if it's supposed to grow 1 crop a year, which typically it would, but this new Roundup glyphosate spray that I'm allowed to use kills it quickly, puts it back in the soil, and I can replant again. So I get 2 a year. It's more profitable for me, and I harvest more, and everybody wins. Regenerative farming we would just naturally let that grow, and then press it down, let it decompose, go into the soil, and our next crop would go to the 1 acre next door to it, and we would grow it there. So that naturally it's breaking down, decomposing into the soil. The soil's getting all the nutrients it needs, and then when that plot's ready, we grow on it again. And so to let that regenerative farming go around and round, you would use chicken manure, you'd let your cows walk on it, whatever. So Mother Nature takes care of it, and all the nutrients go back into the soil, which when then you plant, the next crop that comes up would be, healthy and have all the nutrients that it needs. It would be balanced as well. It would have the nitrates it needs, and it wouldn't be, acidic. It would be perfect balance because that's what it's supposed to be. So letting it naturally decompose and then grow on it is what you're
Mm.
supposed to do. That's regenerative farming. And the way that's better than organic is because some organic sprays, even nowadays, still, they're passed by the FDA and they're certified organic. But that's a question of, is it still good for me? Is it still better than regenerative farming? So I would say regenerative farming, if you can find a farmer that's still doing that, by far it's way better.
How common is that?
Not very common. There's a lot out there. I shouldn't say it's not very common. It's just harder to find
Yeah.
because they're smaller farms, family farms. But there's a lot out there. We're finding a lot that whether they're doing it with their hens, their chickens, their cows, their crops, whatever it is, or all of the above, just naturally moving everything around because that's really what the ecosystem you want to create. They're around. Yeah. It's not common in mass produced. Like you're not going to go to Whole Foods and find a regenerative farmed X, Y,
Yeah,
and Z.
how do people find, how do you have, so you have access to these farmers and the farm, but
Yeah.
how, like, how would people even, like a local farmers market or not even
Yeah.
necessarily?
And then learning the farmer, like and going to see what do you really do here.
It's what, yeah.
Starting those conversations, honestly, is saying, tell me about your farming practices. What do you grow? And just all those things. And going out to the farms. We visit farms constantly and we get to know the farmer first and foremost. And if he's doing ethical things, even if it's not regenerative farming, if you get to know them and their purposes is pure and passionate and it's all about humans eating good food, I mean, I think that's better because to us, it's all about the energy as well. Yes, pesticides and all comes in, but we're all about energy, and all of that plays a factor into the food that we eat. But getting to know your farmer,
Really
very
does.
important. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it really does. I remember Casey Mean said something like every time she sits down with her meal, she looks at her food and she's like, this is my fuel for the week. This is my gonna, create my cells for the week. This is gonna give me my energy, and like has like a conversation with the food. I feel like part of the problem of what's going on is we're so disconnected from ourselves. We're so disconnected from our organs, from animals, from plants. Like there's just such an overarching spiritual crisis going on that I think these conversations are becoming more and more, but I think that's the crux of the issue.
Yeah, and I feel like it just makes it more fun to even, I mean, we call it the energetic pathway, but to think that it came from the soil for you, and the farmer harvested it for you, and then it came to us, and we did, I mean, we can talk about even what we do in the kitchen to really make sure that all the food is fresh and delicious, and then how we harness that energy even in the kitchen for you to receive and consume.
Yeah, I would love to hear what that process looks like. I know one of your 5 pillars was about like how you store and clean the food and care for it. I was really interested in that, like how that works, and yeah, just the process.
Because
Yeah.
I feel like even just to like, why do we do that? Because I mean, and again, I know it's like so much to think about, and that's why we're like, you know what, we're just going to create this product so we can fill that gap for you because it is a lot. So even if you just kind of take one piece of our 5 pillars and implement that at home, that just
Yeah.
makes us so happy. So you're just like, you know what, I can't find a regenerative farmer right now. I don't know how to get it to my home, so I'm just going to get the produce that I can and get the best ingredients that I possibly can. And maybe you're implementing our next step, which is cleaning the produce and re-energizing and structuring the water molecules. So coming then to water.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, how does that work?
We developed a biology of
Sounds cool.
it's called the biology of cooking. That's our 5-step methodology, and it's really regenerating the life force within the food source, if you had to think about it that way. And there's this energetic pathway from Mother Nature to your mouth, and that's really what we tried to preserve all the way along. Just because our food, I don't know if you know this, but like, let's say broccoli is 80% less nutrient dense than it was 40 years ago. And I don't think that's going to get better anytime soon unless we change our philosophies around food. And then I just learned that broccoli across America has got different nutrient density from LA to here. So even if you have broccoli in LA, it might not be as good as it is here. It's a messed up society, messed up relationship, I guess, that America has with food. Anyways, so our biology of cooking methodology is harnessing Mother Nature's energy. So finding a good source. We vet a good farmer. We find out from the soil, get the best soil, the best product we possibly can. That's the first thing you do. And then we take it back to the kitchen and we wash it. And we use a bubbler, so we ozonate the water. So we disinfect. First, we wash all the debris off, and then we ozonate it to kill any pesticides or anything that may have been on it, or may during travel or through any unknown source that touched the food, to really clean it. And once it's cleaned, that's where we generate or regenerate the life force. So we have these energy cards, which essentially talk to the water molecules in the fruits and vegetables and bring that structure back to negative frequency of Mother Nature. So it's really bringing it back to what it was when it was in the earth, and holding on to that energy within the fruits and vegetables while it sits in the fridge.
As soon as you pick the vegetable or whatever, it's dying now.
Yeah.
So now we're holding that as best we can.
Right.
Yeah. I feel like I'm in an ayahuasca journey right now. Like I'm back in an ayahuasca journey. Like this,
holding you alive.
I'm like, this is what it feels like. This is.
And and so then we store it properly, and we maintain that energy into the food as best we can. So we have these throughout our fridge. We have them every time we store vegetables wherever they are, and that's what stops it from deteriorating as well. So foods in our fridge deteriorate quick because of the pesticides or anything on it that's making it go bad quicker. So we nullify that, give it some negative energy and frequencies, and we hold on to that. And then when we cook it with the best possible
But let's just
practices.
talk about, because people might go, okay, who cares? I'm not going to do that with the water. I'm not going to do that with the energy cards. Who cares? I don't need to do that. That doesn't sound important.
Right.
But it's important because it becomes more bioavailable into our body. So now as we ingest those ingredients, it's now able to interact on a higher level to energize our cells.
On a cellular level, because our cells talk to structured water better than contaminated water. So when we're cooking these vegetables, they're at a higher frequency, a high vibration. So our cells talk to it better, so it absorbs nutrients more. You get more out of the food that you're eating. It's really the
granular.
pathway. Mm-hmm.
That's really cool.
Yeah, and then when we cook...
So how do you feel after now that you're knowing that? When you ate the meals?
So important what you're doing. I mean, it's just so aligned, right? Like so much of the conversations I'm having is just to bring consciousness to everything we're doing, whether and to understand the interconnectedness of everything, and food. This is like one of the most important. They're all important conversations, but I feel like this is one of the most important because yes, we can do breath work and plant medicine and functional medicine, all the things, but food is something we all eat every single day, multiple times a day, every single human being on the planet. But yet there's such misinformation and misunderstanding of health. And I mean, when we talk about seed oils, I talk about this a lot just from an education standpoint. I'm not a nutritionist or dietitian or chef, but I bring awareness to matters of holistic health. And so it comes up a lot because even some trainers I knew or some like dietitians weren't really, I mean, the dietitians in the hospital, they give Jello out. They give like really food that's just, it's so not healthy. So my point in saying all this is there's just an awareness that needs to happen. And I think seed oils becomes a top conversation because it's, finally being talked about on the news. And so I think we got an in there with bringing awareness to when you go sit at a restaurant, 99% of the time you're eating seed oil. And that's crazy. That's pretty crazy. I mean, do you as a chef this is something that's newer in the last 10 years to use seed oils, or was this something we just became aware of?
I was never aware of the the health implications of seed oils
Hmm.
when I was a chef. But then again, I was unaware of a lot of things as a chef that would hurt our biology. So I think only in the last couple of years is it coming to light how detrimental seed oils are and what the seed oils were used for and how it became a food source. And like when that was all exposed, you're like, wow, that was nuts. I never want to put that in my mouth again. And then the damage that it does to us and for the length of time it does that damage, we have to stop it. From a chef standpoint, the only reason I would think we use seed oils is because it's cheap. They make it that way. And we need so much of it in the kitchen for deep frying and all these other things that our society loves. We have to use these seed oils. But I would say price is the reason that it's so in abundance in restaurants. So for someone to switch to beef tallow or go straight to olive oil, they're going to lose so much profit.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense for a restaurant.
Yeah.
So.
I know people requesting it. I know I don't eat out much anymore because I find it like annoying to have to request like, can you not use seed oils? And then we don't really know if they're going to do that. And I remember I went to like a 5-star restaurant the other night and I just assumed, oh, surely they're using olive oil. And they were like, we're not.
I can guarantee you that it doesn't matter how expensive the place is you're going to. It's a business and they're going to cut corners. They're going to get processed foods in. They're going to get whatever they can to cut a corner.
Yeah.
Not at your health. So if a bottle of olive oil is $40 and canola oil is 10, they're getting the canola oil.
Yeah.
For sure.
I always wondered too, like it didn't seem like we had so many issues until we became aware of how negative the effects were. So I always wondered, is some of this mental or are we just now seeing the effects on the body? Because it's been, I don't know how many years of using it, but it's definitely something I've thought about, just knowing the power of the mind and how it can create illness in the body.
I think it's a lot of those things. Like seed oils maybe never would have come to light, but our world is so toxic now and it's such a burden on our body that one weakens the other, which sheds light on all the problems. Whereas before, maybe we weren't so toxic and the seed oils were going undetected.
Yeah.
So our body can handle it because it wasn't so overloaded.
Yeah.
There's so much dysbiosis. It seems everybody at the age of 4 has some kind of insensitivity or something.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I mean, talk about all the different things that you do to reduce the toxic load in the kitchen. Like it's endless.
It's endless. This is important. So I just recently learned this, and I consider myself to be well informed, but I just learned about the pans. We were using Teflon pans and we threw them all out, and now we're using stainless steel or ceramic. Those are the good ones, right? But ceramic has to be certain kind. Why don't you explain about the pans and how important that is?
I love that you changed your pans because that's very important. So the PFTA and PSFAs, whatever's in Teflon, I'm glad you threw them out because they're toxic as hell. They're awful for you. So anyone that has Teflon pans, get rid of them. No, non-negotiable. That and aluminum pans are pretty bad too. Anything that's going to create, these forever chemicals or terrible metals that are going to get into your bloodstream, you got to get rid of. So tinfoil, don't let that touch your food. So let's go back to the pans. So the all-clad stainless steel, yes, they're good. 5-ply, whatever it is, really good. Ceramic, also good if it's coated well and it's a good quality pan. It's vetted from a third party, very good. If you're going to use aluminum pans, which are in abundance, use a non-bleached parchment paper. That way, when it's heated up, it doesn't release that bleach into your food. Tinfoil, never cover your food with tinfoil. Never let it touch your food. That's just aluminum going straight into your food, which is going to go straight into your body. That's non-negotiable. What other toxic?
Storing your food in plastic or heating in plastic.
Heating in plastic is awful.
But also no microwave.
No microwave ever.
Can't put plastic on the.
No microwave in general, right?
Yeah. So we talked about that energetic pathway. As soon as it hits a microwave, it kills everything. It's done. So you might as well just not have wasted any of the time doing what you did in the beginning because it's just thrown it right out the window. They did a research in the military where they started getting microwave food to the soldiers and stuff like that, and they were actually getting sick and less efficient by using food from the microwave. So they just said, nope, none of that.
So there's never a good time to use a microwave. It is absolutely killing.
And energetically, it's also could create anxiety in the body because of the way that it's literally vibrating the food. Now you're eating this vibration, so it's creating that emotional connection as well, or amplifying it.
Yeah, so that's an Ayurvedic thing. The Vata, Vata is very like squirrel, like all over the place, very anxiety. So that creates that, and you put that in your body, and you might feel yourself a little bit more anxious using a microwave.
That's crazy because I mean, who doesn't use a microwave, right? We've stopped. I would say I haven't used it in a while, but I mean, most Americans are using a microwave
And the
for
plastics,
the
and
day.
storing your food in plastic, and I mean other ways that you might come across plastic, even if you're not heating it.
Yeah, plastic, anything warm should just not go into plastic or be stored in plastic. Invest in glass for sure. And water. Water holds memory. Water's toxic. Get a good purifier. Spend the money on your water. Water's in your food, all around your food. And that's how our cells talk to whatever's in it. So it needs to be good quality food.
We do use
good quality water.
All of Therasage's products. So we use their water purifier, their air purifier. That's how we structure all the water. So if people do want to kind of purchase that for in home, we do encourage everybody to take all these practices home with them.
The plastics are a big issue, and how much we've ingested the plastics. I think that that's also now just coming to light. So to the Tupperware, in terms of how people can store food, ideally glass, right? We have a lot of glass here.
Yeah, glass would be the number one. I wouldn't say anything else. I mean, you can use Pyrex. You can use good ceramic containers. The problem with all of that is it's not cheap. It's an investment. But the way I look at it is you're investing into your health. So you can take the cheap way now and pay for it later, or just invest now into your health and wellness for the rest of your life. You buy a good glass container set, it's going to last you a while.
Yeah. God, the microwave. That's
the microwave. Just
You
unplug
gotta
it. Call
wonder-
unplugged. Can't even use it.
You gotta wonder, like, did they know that when they built the microwave, or did they not know that? Like, it's like, are these like, is it a giant conspiracy, or should we believe they just are? They didn't have the.
I truly do believe that everything is made from an entrepreneurial mindset. Is like, we're gonna better this. We're gonna, heat up the water molecules in the food to make things quicker and faster. And it was probably done for efficiency, without knowing, and nor did they care about the repercussions of it. And we don't find out till later. It's kind of like all the fire retardant in our pillows, on our couches, in our bed. We sleep on it all the time. They put it there so that when your house catches on fire, it doesn't add to the fire. So it was good, but it's toxic. So we're relying on toxic. We're wrapping in toxic. All that stuff is bad because it's sprayed with a fire retardant. Like the beds for our children, all those things. It wasn't done maliciously, I don't think.
Yeah,
it's there.
I like to believe that too. Yeah. Okay. So the pans, the tin foil, which is a big one. Like even
Parchment
wrapping
paper.
cold food in tin foil is like, it's not just when it's hot. It's like, because people are using it in their air fryers, which we also just switched from a plastic air fryer to a
Amazing.
yeah. What is it? A
Yeah.
stainless steel air fryer.
Yeah, so tinfoil in general, it's aluminum. You don't want that in your bloodstream. So you don't want it even wrapped in your food. I've just gone away with it. And if you ever have to, let's say you want to make a baked potato because your mom always taught you to wrap it in tinfoil, throw it in the oven, or throw it on the barbecue, whatever it might be, just wrap it in an unbleached parchment paper and then wrap it in tinfoil. You still get the same steaming effect. You still get the same effect from a culinary standpoint without the toxins. So you can still use the tinfoil, just don't let it touch your food. That's all.
It's endless. And even in the body, I mean, people are starting to do a lot of parasite cleanses now and heavy metals, and there's a lot of questions of why now. And a couple practitioners that I partner with have explained to me kind of what you're saying about how maybe we could have gotten around it before because our immune system was strong. We weren't like toxic overload status, but now with the metals and the seed oils and the glyphosate and the plastics, we haven't even talked about that. Between all of that, now these things are presenting themselves as more severe illness. So, I mean,
Sure.
even for myself, I grew up with my mom was a gym and phys ed teacher. I grew up really healthy, healthier than most of my friends, but I've had more gut issues and health issues than a lot of my friends that I know. It's just so interesting how that happens.
Yeah,
And
and now that there's so many planes, I mean, even our air, our rainwater has got aluminum and heavy metals in it from the jet fuel and everything else that's up in the air. So
crazy.
as we get busier as a human race, it's just I think we just throw so much toxin out there that I don't know if it's well, you know what? I believe it's not meant to be harmful, but there's just so much of it, and we do it for money or convenience for a better quality of life that it has the reverse effect. I think the approach we need to do is slow down, get
Yeah.
back to what we used to do, and let's not be in a rush and intentionally eat food and intentionally, just slow down for a minute. To your point, even about eating, just
I mean,
chew.
yeah, there's so many little touch points. Just like
I
slow
know.
down and chew would be a great if you took one thing away today. Don't do anything else. Just slow down and chew.
Yeah.
I saw that you have that mindful eating on the website, which is so important. A lot of the functional medicine practitioners that I've done work with on my gut and my liver and all of the things, they always would say, slow down, chew, like think about the food, really become conscious in that way too, not just when you're doing breath work and meditation, but
Yeah,
the interconnectedness. But
yeah.
yeah, I mean, there are so many touch points. I think people are so overwhelmed with the information overload and the like fire alarms because the news is already so you should be in fear, you should be in danger. So I try to just come from a place of education and awareness and empowering people to make different decisions. But I know how overwhelming it can feel, especially when you then get into the products and the household, the candles and the cleaning supplies and the shampoo. Like it's enough to drive even me crazy, and I'm in the space. Um, so I don't know, I think the solution is just really taking it one thing at a time. But again, having a service like this where somebody can at least alleviate one part of their life where they don't have to think about it until they're ready to take that on. I know my boyfriend, he loves to cook and he's really into the food. So that was an easy solve for him. Um, Whereas I was more focused on the products and I would rather have a meal service who I can trust, where it's just like, I don't have to think about it. So everyone has their, you know, capacity for these
Yeah,
things.
Yeah.
totally.
There's
Totally.
definitely a lot of noise in our space, and
Yeah.
to decipher through that. That's why we came up with this service too. Is if it's here, it's healthy. That's our tagline. So just rest assured that if we bring it to you, just we've done all the vetting. You don't
Yeah.
need to just take food out of it. Okay, you can rest on that, and then worry about the other things, like you say, like cleaning products, or just. And you got to give yourself grace. That's a big
Yeah.
one. You can't worry about everything. You're going to live in a bubble. Be feared.
Yeah. It's really true. It's almost like the more aware you become, then like the more of a bubble. I mean, I wasn't going out to dinner for like almost a year where we just weren't participating in life. We weren't going to events for concierge. I had meetings all the time where I would leave the house and feel paralyzed. Like I couldn't breathe because I was like, do I have my snacks? Do I have my meals? And it's good to be equipped and prepared, but I also feel it can get really extreme. And we don't want people to live in fear either, the way they do when they turn on the news and it's like fear city.
No.
Well, I would say a number one conversation I have when people call about meals is, okay, I'm doing all of these things. And it's like a 30-minute conversation of here's all the things I'm doing, and I'm going to add ORQA to the list.
Yeah.
Maybe let's not add ORQA to the list. Maybe let's make the list smaller and then just see what works. It's just adding more and more and more things. I feel like it's just distracting from the bottom line of what you're trying to do.
Does your menu change seasonal? Like, is it important to eat foods that are in season and local? Is there any logic to that?
Yeah. If you look at so to answer the first question is we have like an 8 week changing flowing menu where I know like let's say next week I'm going to make a gnocchi or I'm going to make a pasta or I'm going to make whatever. Yeah, so our menu flows through an 8 week process where I have I guess a blueprint, but anything and everything in that blueprint, in and around it, is seasonal, is what Mother Nature's producing and what the fishmonger might have. So it is based on what's available. So it is seasonal, but there's a scope. So that's what we do to become metabolically flexible. It's kind of done that way. Now, in terms of should you eat what's in season and should you eat what's local,
Yeah.
100% yes. And if you look at Ayurveda, use that as a broad stroke. They have 3 seasons, so Kapha, Pitta, Vata, and that's really your constitution. And how that changes with the sun and how it changes with the seasons affects your body. And there's a lot of science behind that as well. But if you just take this broad stroke of as it gets cold, just think of you're going to eat warmer foods because your your thermogenesis. So your body's trying to conserve, in the cold months, your body's trying to hold on to fat. So you want to give it foods that can, that will take on the fats and store the fats. So heavier foods like stews, and you want, chilies and those kind of things. You don't want things that are cold and light because your body needs warmth. It needs to take care of itself. And then in the summer, it's getting rid of everything. So there's thermal regeneration. So you want to give it light things, water, you want aloe, you want like all these things that are going to hydrate. So it's very important. And Mother Nature is very smart because during those months, you get the foods that your body needs, which is cool. And you need to listen to that. So regardless of where you are, whether you're up north or you're down here in Florida, Mother Nature is producing foods that you need for your climate or your environment. And two, sorry, I should add that you don't ever, the energetic pathway, you don't want avocados from Mexico when there's avocados growing, down the road here, because that energetic pathway is when they picked it not full of energy, and then it's just ripening on a truck somewhere, and then it's sitting in Whole Foods, and then you're picking it, and it's got nothing left in it. Energetically, it's dead. So you're eating an avocado, but there's nothing in it that gives you anything, and so to us, it's pick it as close to when it's ready and eat it right away. And
so you're eating food that's alive.
Win-win, yeah. You
I
get that.
haven't even heard anyone break it down like that, like the energetic pathway and how by the time it gets here, energetically it's depleted. Like food is alive and
Sure.
food is energy. It's so crazy to hear it broken down this way.
Yeah, we always look at energy, on an ATP level. We need calories and macros and all these things. And I honestly think if you look at it from an energetic standpoint, like we're energy and that's what we need. Yes, you're going to get the calories, and yes, be conscious of that, but concentrate on the nutrients and the micros as well as the macros. And if you eat in abundance till you're full or 80% or 90% full, you're going to get everything you need. Your body's going to let you know what you need. So you got to listen to it.
Yeah. I think, again, no matter what modality we're talking about, or even deciding on the modalities, a lot of what my role is, people come and they're confused. And I started this because I was confused and I really struggled to make decisions for most of my life. And all of it is about getting back into the body, making the decisions, deciding what modality is for you. I bring them options, but I always explain that your body will tell you what's for you. If ayahuasca is for you, you'll feel it in your body. If working with a functional medicine practitioner is for you, you'll feel that, if breath work or meditation. And at the same time, I think part of the problem of why we struggle with understanding that is because we're not taught how to get into the body. We're taught to live in the mind, but it makes so much sense about how that all correlates back to food.
Yeah.
Process.
And your body, so when you think about it, as a kid, I never thought about it, but you think in the summertime, you're irritated, right? You're all these things, you're hot, you're irritated, you're whatever, or your skin might get red or you get rashes and all these things. And no one ever thinks like, am I eating too much like cayenne pepper, chilies? Like, what am I eating right now that's creating this fieriness? Because it's hot as hell outside and I'm eating fiery foods. My body's just saying, hey, enough. Let's get some colder foods. Let's get some smoothies. Let's get some juice. And you really got to listen to that or pay attention to that. So instead of getting a topical cream for your rash, how about you stop eating really spicy foods in the summer? I mean, that just might be.
It's such a good point. And I mean, there's a lot of noise also about meat in general. It causes cancer, or be a carnivore, or be a vegan. And, I have some vegan friends that feel very attacked by the narratives. And what I was saying to them recently is, from what I understand, our bodies are all really different and we need different things. And if you intuitively feel meat doesn't land for you, then go with that. If you're not eating meat because of fear, then that's something to look into. But I think overall, whether you're eating vegetables or meat, it's about the quality, not necessarily like you all should eat eggs in the morning and beef at night. And I think if you're going to eat vegetarian, then what kind of quality of vegetables are you eating? I really have come to believe that similar to what you were saying before, would be like, yes, no dairy, no meat, or only meat. And now I have come to understand, like, meat works for me. It may not work for other people.
And cooking then would come in. So the biochemistry of that would come in. So if you're eating raw kale, in the winter, probably not good. You should cook those, because that's what you need in the winter time. Or maybe your body just can't digest at that time. It's not
Yeah.
that you can't eat kale. And so if you eat a wide variety of fruits and vegetables, we talk about diversity a lot in our microbiome, and that comes from all the fruits and vegetables. So being educated on the fruits and vegetables that you're eating, trying new ones are a big one, because that combination, like this conversation of amino acids, how do I get my protein? Every vegetable has all 9 essential amino acids. It's just not in the capacity that we need in a daily intake. So if our pepper has them all, it might be high in one, low in another. But if you eat a pepper, a broccoli, and some rice, together those 3 make a complete protein. So that's enough. You get your protein. Just don't eat just peppers, because they're all there, just not in the amount that you need.
Wow.
So it's really understanding the combinations and what you can actually get from a fruit and vegetable. It plays a lot into it, but everyone's just like, I don't eat vegetables, I don't get enough from salad. Well, of course you don't. You need more than just salad. Being educated is a big one, and how you cook your food, for sure.
Yeah. And so that's why you offer vegetarian meals, because you also believe that not every meat is for everybody, or what is your stance on it?
You want me to go first?
Yeah.
So I believe that everything in season. So I believe there's a reason to go raw and a time, and I think there's a reason to go vegetarian. As a sustainable lifestyle, I'm not entirely sure any of them are really one size fits all. I do believe your body will tell you, if you start as a vegetarian, at some point you're going to say, you know what, I need meat, because your body's going to be craving it at some point if you're not doing exactly what you need to do. And vice versa. You might eat too much meat and say, you know what, I'm going to take a rest for my gut. I'm going to have some more fruits and vegetables. So I believe our diet shouldn't be going on a diet. As a species, we should probably have a diet, and that's going to be a little bit of everything. So we offer it for a time, and almost everyone in our meal plan might start vegetarian or start pescatarian or start flexitarian. They all sway at some point. You'll see them go back and forth. So that's what I believe.
Makes sense.
I don't have a definitive answer on you should eat meat or you should eat this. You should eat what your body tells you you need at that moment.
Yeah.
And then again, it comes down to quality, I suppose.
Is there anything that you want to talk about from a chef perspective?
No, I think we covered everything I believe in. Have fun. Take the toxins out of your kitchen. Don't be restrictive to what you eat. Give yourself that grace and explore. I mean, go to the grocery store and pick out something new and try it. You might like it. And if you don't know how to cook it, look it up. I mean, continuously learn and get outside your comfort zone. Your body only benefits from it. So that's a good thing. And you might be able to find out that seasonal food is really benefiting you. And really, it's you don't know what you don't know. And again, I believe that if you start changing your habits, your body's going to say, hey, thanks for that. Here's what I'm going to do for you. And I'm going to regulate your hormones, or I'm going to give you more energy, or I'm going to pay it back. I do believe putting toxins, the best way to lessen your toxins is don't put more toxins in. So if you restrict the toxic load that's going in, it'll probably be less toxic. So from a chef standpoint, I don't know, just have fun. Have fun.
Standpoint, like from how people can not be overwhelmed by the info, but be empowered.
I just take a step back. I mean, I deal with this with my clients all the time, and I have ever since I started, just taking a step back and not being so herky-jerky about it. It's just actually taking control of your own health and asking the questions for yourself, and knowing that we are here on the journey of life and we get to figure it out throughout the entire time. So you can use your life as an experiment, and everything you listen to, look at, movements, everything you put in your mouth is either going to take you closer or further away from where you want to be. So, I mean, everything you do, you have a choice. So you can either make an excuse or you can step up.
So true. Well, this was riveting. I've learned so much, so I know everyone listening is going to learn so much. I mean, I could talk about this all day, but I know people have a short attention span too. So,
Well, thank you for having us on.
This was
really,
epic. Thank you very much.
oh yeah, of course.
This is
And
great.
yeah, this was really, really great. And so if anyone is looking for information on your services, your website is
ORQAHealth.com. ORQA.
orcahealth.com, the Instagram.
ORQA. ORQA Health.
And as always, for any information or modalities in the world of holistic health, you can reach out to me at yourconsciousconcierge.com or at yourconsciousconcierge on Instagram, Conscious Concierge on TikTok, and Conscious Concierge on YouTube.
Amazing. Love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.